of the mind. So in the second half, that is one Upanishad, which is known as Amrit Bindu Upanishad. Amrit means nectar. Bindu means, Bindu represents the entire existence. And that is very good, Brittany. First time I'm seeing you clearly. Good. And so, yes. You see, Lara, mind to mindfulness to awakening. There are only 25 verses. And I gave a brief explanation based on the teachings of great masters. Be very clear, I have not written these books. I have simply written a commentary on that. Huh? I'm a very small guy, even though I'm 6 feet tall. So all the knowledge comes from these teachings of the great masters. In the first half, what we will cover today is the basic origin of the Upanishads, and the ultimate knowledge of the reality is explained in the Upanishads. So, Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Actually, this verse is an appreciation of the Guru or the Master. So, what in this verse it says that Guru is the creator. What is that creator? It is the creator of that attitude of the mind by which we learn how to discover our real nature. We are not talking of the stress or suffering, etc. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, and the way my mind, my body, and action should perform in a rightful manner. That is also the Guru. It is the Guru within me that inspires me to take a right action. And that Guru Devo Maheshwara. Why there is no smile, Brandy? That is why 24/7 you should be. So the third is that I live in that auspicious moment all the time. What is that auspicious moment? I never forget my real nature. So that is why I bow down to my Guru, who is within me, but outer Guru is representing my real self. That is the meaning. Did I tell you the father of the Buddha asked Buddha, now you are young and adult. You take over the kingdom. You become the king. Buddha said, okay, but there is a condition. Can you fulfill 4 conditions for me? I am ready to take over. I should never become old if I become the king. I should never die. I should never become sick. There should never be any enemy for me and my kingdom. Can you promise me? You only discover yourself when you ask big questions. That is the journey of the Upanishad. Upanishads always ask big questions. It does not ask, I have a problem. Can I solve this problem? I have a relationship problem. Can you help me? No. Your big questions are, who am I? What is this world? What is this existence? And how to live, work, and think in permanent peace and happiness. Is there any permanent peace and happiness? So when you ask small questions, you get a small reply. Can I manage my anger and anxiety? Yes, you can manage. I gave you 20-hour lessons. You can only manage. You cannot get rid of it. You see, very small questions. Upanishads are meant for those people who ask big questions in their life. Are you understanding? Who am I? This question have ever entered into your life at any point in your mind? No, I know who am I. I'm a husband, I'm a wife, I'm a girl, I'm a boy, I'm a teacher. No, these are small answers. Who am I? What is this world? Is the world full of suffering, or is the world itself is the suffering? And if the world is the suffering, can I transcend the world to live into that state of permanent peace and happiness? These questions are asked by the students in the Upanishads by the great. So, I told you before, the Upanishads are the group of the text, and majority of these texts are in the form of a dialogue, a question and answer between the student and the between the seeker and the master. Are you a seeker of that level? In order to be a seeker of that level, the mind must be pure. What is the meaning of the mind must be pure? It should not have any kind of illusion and delusion. Varanasi. Varanasi is the oldest city in the world. Now I'm answering what kind of a seeker you are and how it happens. And then we will go deeper. Always remember this story. This is one of the beautiful stories explained by one master long back, 3,000 years old. So, first, Varanasi or Banaras. Banaras is the oldest city in the world. It is the hub of great scholars, great masters awakened because it was the hub of great masters, enlightened masters. Even, the Buddha lived few miles away from that. Huh? So, yes, my friend is saying, ben, that is one way to spell it, and actual name is Varanasi. Varanasi. So even if you uh, go to Google, you will find out its history anyhow. So it was the hub of great masters. And then what happens? There is a saying that started that those who die in Varanasi, in that oldest city, they got enlightenment. It was a symbolic because many masters lived there, and because if you live there and it means you are bound to learn something about this Upanishad and the self-discovery. So I'm beginning the story now. So the king of Varanasi used to be a great masters of Eastern wisdom. They were great scholars, they were yogis. He had 13-year-old boy. They both went to see a theater, you know, New York, which is what is very famous in New York. The theater, yes. So, yeah, Broadway. So it was very famous in those days, and still it is very famous. So there was a role of a 13-year-old girl. Pay attention. That is the problem we all have. If we get rid of this problem in the mind, then we are awakened. So, anyhow, in that theater, in that drama, there was a role of a 13-year-old girl. She became sick. So, the director saw this 13-year-old boy and the son of the king and requested the king to allow him to play a role of a girl. That is what happens in theater. Yeah. It's not a story of gay and lesbian. Don't go there. That's totally different. So I want to be very clear. Anyhow, they played a role, and lot of paintings were made of that play, and couple of portraits of that 13-year-old boy in the appearance of a girl. Portrait was created. Lot of pictures were taken. Now 20 years passed. Now the prince is 25 years old, young, handsome, with tremendous knowledge. And one day he went to the store where the paintings of that girl was located. That 25-year-old boy fell in love with that 13-year-old girl. You see how the Masters guides us to treat the path. See that. So he saw a lot of paintings of that 13-year-old girl. She was beautiful, but she was so beautiful. So he came out, he started, sometime when we are in love, then we leave the entire world. We become, so sad. We are brooding type. You might have those experiences. Huh? Brittany has many. No, she doesn't have. Okay, no problem. So the king became very sad about it. What happened to my son? He's so handsome, he's intelligent, he's wise. So he asked his minister to inquire. So the minister asked the boy, and boy said, I'm in love with the beautiful girl. Where you have seen the girl? So the prince took the minister to that store, and he said, here is the girl I'm in love with. Now, how the minister could help him understand that this girl is the prince, is you only. Are you getting it? Are you only? Christina is laughing. Is you only. Is not different. So, minister, how to make him understand? Minister said, do you know that every month we have a theater in our city? Yes, we have a theater. So a lot of people play their role. So now think of that. You are 13-year-old and you are playing a role of a girl. You see, it is very difficult to make people understand it is you. What we think we are, I am stressed. I have lot of problem. My life is hell. You see that? That is the beautiful teaching of the Upanishad. So because we are not a seeker, so the masters gives a different context. They make you understand by the. So minister said, it is you only. This 13-year-old girl is not a girl. You played a role of a girl when you were 13 years old. What? Minister was also a great master. In earlier days in ancient India, You have a kingdom, you have a king, and every king has a one enlightened masters working in the court. They always used to take their advice. You have commerce, the state of commerce secretary, you have state secretary of state like in our country, but that my minister used to be a great master. So the minister, and now what happened to the prince? Tell me, think of it. Think of it. What happened to the prince? It is me? I'm in love with myself? As long as you are not in love with yourself, the real self, nobody can bring an end to the suffering in your life. Period. So, this is the summary of the entire teaching of the Upanishad. So, not only I have to be in love with the real self after acquiring and gaining the knowledge, but also I have to discover that knowledge. That is the message of the great Upanishad. That is the message of the great Upanishad. Never forget, you may become a soulmate, no issue. But after a few months, you are bound to become a soulmate. You date with the people, any person, no issue, do it. But with awareness that you love your real self. That we should never forget in our life. Are you understanding that part? But at the same time, if you love your honey as you only, that is another application of the Upanishads. So when I love you as me, how can I fight? How can I find any duality and a conflict in my life? Don't allow ego to come here. Now, what the ego will say, if that guy is crazy or that girl is crazy, what should I do? This is your ego. First, learn and understand, discover that love in you is the same you consider the love in others. Once you understand that, then only you are there. You got it? So there is Tatriyo Upanishad. Now there is a Tatriyo Upanishad. Tatriyo Upanishad, you can pick up the Tatri. Tatri was a great master. Tatriyo Upanishad. Tatriyo was great master. He wrote another Shanti mantra. That is what we are going to understand. Now understand a simple way that what is that? Let me put it in a paste it so that you can keep it. It's not a big mantra, but I made it big for the sake of understanding. So, and then we will not only we will see and chant together. You see that what this mantra says. The first line of the mantra it says, you see that how these masters find the ways to help us understand. Tatri, Tatriyo, Tatriyo Upanishad, and the master's name is Tatri. So, what is the Shanti mantra? Om Sham No Mitraha Sham Varunaha. What is the meaning? If you go a symbolic meaning, you will not understand. So, what I have written, let day be the giver of peace and happiness. Let night be the giver of peace and happiness. Every day in the morning, when I wake up and I become aware of the day, let the day be the giver of peace and happiness. I should think in that way. What we think, today is a bad morning. Okay, the sun rises, and the sun told that for today, you have a bad morning. Look at the masses. When we do not understand the masses, then we get into the trouble. What we say, we wake up in the morning, I have lot of anxiety. Throw that craziness of the mind. Let the day be the giver of peace and happiness. And before going to sleep, let the night be the giver of peace and happiness. You see, Om Sham No Mitraha Sham Varunaha. That is the meaning. That is the meaning for a seeker. But if you are not a seeker, then we say, there is a Mitra. The Mitra is the name of a god, and you seek peace and happiness from the Mitra. So, when you have started the teaching, when you have started the learning, then we say there are two types of God. One is the God of the day, one is the God of the night. See that. But direct teaching, are you seeker? Start every day. Shanno bhavat, sanno bhavat varyama. So what is that? Let day and night be giver of peace and happiness. So I maintain that awareness. Look at this Shanti mantra. Shanno Indro Brahaspati. Brahaspati is known as the god of wisdom, the god of knowledge. So what says? Whatever we speak, be giver of peace and happiness. You know, I also speak with excitement, but ultimately my goal is to live in peace and happiness, to give peace and happiness to others. How crazy you are. If I say so, am I a giver of peace and happiness? I hate that guy. Am I a giver of peace and happiness to myself? Look at this mantra. Mantra gives the right direct message. Shanno Vishnur Rukramaha. God or consciousness of the day and the night and the speech and the feet and the hands. There's hands, we say the god of work. Vishnu, we say the god of our action is located inside the feet. So I become aware that I should be performing the work with the right knowledge, in a right manner, with a right speech, with a right thought, with a right action. Right speech, right thought, right action, not because of you, but because of myself. I love myself. Hence, I will continue to have a right thought, right speech, right action in my life. Then what happens? The mind is clear and purified. Then what happens? Then I see the real self directly. I become aware. I am realized. That is why it is known as salutation to Brahman. So we will understand this word, salutation to Brahman. Namastuvaya, salutation to you, O air. Why I am saluting to the air? You don't send me the bill every month. You are always available. I'm grateful. Do you see that? Salutation. Namaste Vayuh Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmasi. Tvameva pratyaksham brahmasi. You are immediate, my real self. Without that air which I breathe in and out 24 by 7, that is how my mind is active. And because the mind is engaged in the journey of the self discovery, so you are directly responsible for my peace and happiness. Do you see that point? Do you get that point? That is the essence of this mantra. Tvameva pratyaksham brahmasi, tvameva pratyaksham brahma vadishyami. I will call you as my direct real self because I am you, you are me. There is no difference. Ritam vadishyami, I shall call you the righteousness. I shall call you the truth. You are always with me. You see, look at this earth, water, air, fire. They are always available. They don't charge us any bill to us. You see the biggest difference. They sound, otherwise every township they say, oh, you have a beautiful house, pay the tax, pay the electricity bill. Nobody is asking you the bill. So that is why the master is becoming aware. Why he's becoming aware? The mind is expanding, aligning with the five elements. You don't remain as a limited individual. If you remain as a limited individual, that is the cause of anxiety and the suffering. The mind makes you too much selfish. No, I have a lot of problems. I have a lot to blame and complain. So your mind drops that blame and complaint. Satyam vadishyami. So what he says, I shall call you the righteousness, I shall call you the truth, I shall call you the righteousness, I shall call you the truth. So then what we say, may he protect me. Who protects me? The existence should protect me. Why? You are my father. You are my speaker. And like this. And ultimately, we come to Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So pick up the few lines before. Contemplate and reflect. Is air available all the time to me? Even when I'm sleeping, I'm not at all aware of my breathing. And that air says, I will help you to keep alive. Do you understand? Are you understanding? Are you getting it? I'm in deep sleep. I'm not at all aware of the breath. In a waking state, my breath is choking. I can know it. I can do something. Doctor will bring the oxygen cylinder to me. But in deep sleep, ask yourself. So where you are taking your mind is expanding. So we have one so-called the prayer for the earth. So those great masters in ancient days, before stepping, after waking up, the moment they used to take a step on the earth, they said, sorry, my earth mother. I'm giving you a pain because I'm taking one step, my feet on your earth, but I'm aware you are supporting me. You are supporting my total existence. What happens to the mind? The mind melts. Mind drops that ego. The same thing with the space. The same thing with these five elements. You align with it. Do we ever become aware of the space all around us? Think of it. There is no space all around. Can you speak? Can you move? Can you blink your eyeballs? You cannot without space. We forget that awareness. We forget that awareness. When we forget that awareness, the mind becomes selfish. In that selfishness, the mind causes the anxiety, duality, problem, and suffering. One young guy went to my master and he said, I'm totally frustrated. I was thrown out by my parents because of my wrongdoing. So that is why I have come. to uh, take an initiation into the monkhood. My master said, monkhood is not for those people who are stressed. It is only for those people who wants to treat the path of the self-discovery. But anyhow, so you have nothing? Yes, he said, no, I have nothing. Now see the point. That is how we should understand ourselves. And then we will come to the basics. So both your eyes are working fine? Yes. Can you give me one eye? I will pay you $1,000. No, it is not possible, master. Now I'll pay you $10,000. Give me one eye. No, 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 not possible. $50,000. No way. So one eye is costlier than $50,000. And you are saying that you don't have anything? You are a poor guy? What the master is guiding. We lose our confidence, we lose our self esteem because of extreme selfishness, because we identify ourselves with the body. Do you see that point? The journey of the Upanishad means it makes you bold, confident, and it raises your energy, creativity. Once, if you have understood, you have studied, and you are treating the path. I know some of you and your mind might be thinking, he doesn't know my problem. I have lot of problem in my life. I can see that. I can understand. Your mind might be thinking, he does not understand. He is crazy. We carry the burden of our anxiety, stress, and suffering in our mind. We don't want to leave it. That is the problem of ignorance Upanishad talks about. It is ignorance. I want to keep the burden of the past all the time in my life. One was riding the donkey and he was carrying the baggage on his head. So when many people saw him, he said, look at this crazy guy. You know, he should have kept the baggage on the shoulder of this donkey. And in that way he should feel light. Now see that he got out of the donkey and he put the baggage on the shoulder of a donkey. So again he was moving. Some villagers said, look at this crazy guy. He should have been on the donkey and kept the baggage on the side. So even if I keep the baggage on my shoulder and I'm riding the donkey has the similar equal amount of weight. So the message is here that we always want to keep the burden and the baggage in our mind, which has an element of blame, complaint, reaction, anxiety, anger. You shed it, you throw it out, you are free. That is the message of the Upanishad. Now let us go a little deeper. The Vedas. The group of the text is known as Veda. Veda. What is the meaning of Veda? Knowledge, wisdom. Don't, don't, Veda, yes. Lara has written Veda. So Veda means knowledge and wisdom of the real self. That is one meaning of the Veda. And the other meaning of the Veda simply means the knowledge, the applied knowledge, not only of the real self, but also of the world outside. So Vedas are, these are the texts which gives you, they run into almost 50,000 pages. It teaches you almost everything of your personal, professional, social life, plus the spiritual life. Later on, these Vedas were divided, classified into four, four Vedas. What are those four Vedas? Simply, four Vedas are known as Rig Veda. Why I have written the timeline? For the sake of understanding the Rig Veda, 1800 BC. So means 1800 plus 2000 years, 2021. So it means it is almost more than 3000 years old. It gives you strota. Strota means hymns, mantras pertaining to God and goddesses. Then there is another group of the text, which is another division of the Veda, is known as Samaveda. It gives you everything in a musical way. It gives you a very deep essence of the mantra, the nada, etc., etc. Then comes the Yajurveda. Yajurveda gives you how to worship, how to perform different rites and rituals. And then comes the Atharveda. In Atharveda, you have different tools and techniques how to increase the power of the mind, not only to benefit yourself, but also to benefit others and sometimes harm others. Huh? We want to come down to Upanishad, but we should understand the basic history of the Upanishad. So now just to give you first brief. So in all the four Vedas, there is a trend, there is a progress. Yeah, Kate says the root is with. Huh? Yes, now you have opened my mind. There are two roots. One root is with, means to know. And there is another word, Vedana. 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 This Sanskrit word means suffering, affliction, affliction, klesha. There are many other synonyms. So means Vedana means suffering, and Veda means knowledge. So I have to move from the Vedana to Veda. That is what the Veda is. One meaning is with, she is perfectly right, and the other meaning is Vedana to Veda. Now I have written Samhita, Brahmin, Aranyaka, Upanishad. So in all the four Vedas, you have a progressive understanding. And Upanishads I have written in the last. So Upanishads explains these principles clearly, logically, rationally. It gives you the practices. How that knowledge came? It came from Aranyaka. What is Aranyaka? Aranyaka is also a group of text. What is the meaning of Aranyaka? Aranyaka means forest. Simply means forest. So what happened? These masters went to the forest and they contemplated and meditated on these principles for years and years together. And then they have written these texts, which is a part of the Veda, which is known as Aranyaka. But before Aranyaka, there was not very much clarity about these principles logically and rationally. So they come under Brahmin. So what is the Brahmin text? Brahmin text gives you the rites and the rituals, many form of worship and the prayers. I'm just going back from the Upanishad, the ultimate understanding. Before that, Aranyaka. And before that, you have rites and rituals. And before the rites and rituals, you have Sanhita. Sanhita means simply the mantras. Sanhita means the mantra, the collection of lot of mantras that helps you to reach to the same goal of Astanga Yoga, the Samadhi, or the discovery of the self. Clear? So let us go, let us have a little more understanding. Now start from the Sanhita. Sanhita are the oldest writings in the Vedas. Sanhita means to put together, to compose, to arrange these different mantras together. I explained you what is mantra in the previous chapter. Do you remember anything? Or it has gone out of your mind? It is good so that you will study again. Provided you study again. If you don't study, then then what will happen? What the mind will say, I have lot of problem. I don't have a time to study. You should study to get rid of the problem. So Sanhita means what? Those principles are written in a very clarity. Mantras. I told you, I used to recite one of the longest mantras that takes 10 minutes. Pertaining to the goddess Kali. Om Namo Devyai Mahadevyai Shivayai Satatam Nama Nama Prakriti Bhadraye Niyata Pranata Smatam Rudraye Namo Nityai. So, one way you need not to understand, you need to understand how to chant these mantras and how many times you have need to recite the mantra and how many days. That is very well written in the text of the Samhitas. You need not to do any even practice of the asanas. When you follow that Samhita, you reach to that state. But as the evolution of the knowledge took place, huh? Evolution of the knowledge took place, and that is what the second group of the text, which is known as Brahmin text, of rituals, of ceremonies, of sacrifices, of symbolic sacrifices. These are known as, these practices covers under the Brahmin text. So there is another meaning of the Brahmin text. Brahmin text meaning explanations of the mantra, the sacred knowledge or the principles from the Sanhita. The foundation is Sanhita, and now there is an evolution of a knowledge, and that group of the text became the Brahmin text. Clear? Getting it? Second group of the text. Now the third group of the text is known as, so we have many Sanhita, many Brahmin texts. Now directly come to Aranyaka. So what the Aranyaka text, it gives you the commentaries on the mantra. It gives you an explanation why you perform a particular practice. So one, you see that it looks very old practice, but you can easily understand. Do you know the Ganesha? Do you know the monkey god? We'll understand what is God later on in the second session of this this learning. So we say Pancho Upchar Puja, the 5 things to be offered to the God, and the 5 things pertaining to the 5 elements. What are those 5 elements? The earth, the water, the fire, the air, and the space. So it means when you are offering fruit to the Lord Ganesha, you are offering the earth element in you. You see that? That we will take up later. So 5 elements and the 5 things. So outwardly it appears, we will take in the uh, teachings of the Gita uh, very deeply about these five things and five offerings. So outwardly it appears as a ritual, but inwardly you link your mind with these five elements while offering the particular physical things to an image of Lord Ganesha. So, what happens? It brings a changes about your mind. That is what is explained in the Aranyaka. One example. There are many things. I'm just briefly covering. Kate and Lara ordered me to complete everything in 9 hours. So that is why I follow their order. Aranyaka. So you see that? It's very easy to follow the order. You should know. Even if your honey says, why don't you do this? Sorry, I will do the same thing as suggested by you from today. Finished. Brandy is still thinking. So now you understood that. Now coming to the Upanishad. Upanishad. Upanishads are the supreme work of the Indian masters. Highest level of logical and rational explanation of every principle. Every principle that you study in yoga. Take an example. Why asana is not called physical exercise in gym? Why they are known as asana? You find an explanation in the Upanishad. What is prana? Pranayama. You find an explanation in the Upanishad. So you see that it is the work of the genius. They got rid of all the rites and rituals to make us understand what exactly is the knowledge of the reality, what is real self, why it is known as of the nature of permanent peace and happiness, love and wisdom. But if you perform a ritual, means what the knowledge is representing at the physical level, it helps you to purify the mind. Are you getting it? So now understand every day in the morning. Yeah? Every day in the morning, it is said you take a glass of water, face to the east, look at the sun, and salute to the sun by pouring that water on the ground, visualizing the sun. Sun, you are a god to me because I cannot exist without you. Hence, I offer my respect and adoration to you. So you enter into my every cell of my body. Give me that energy so that I can live in peace and happiness. You start thinking in that way and see what happens in a week. So it may be a ritual. You do it for a week and see what happens. But it is an understanding that this sun, then I can go back to Hatha Yoga. What is it? Akara kirtitah suryashtakaras chandra uchyate. And there is a second line, I forget it. So what it says, in Hatha Yoga, Hatha, the Ha represents sun, Tha represents moon. So when you merge sun and the moon, you enter into the highest consciousness and it awakens you to the reality. Hatha does not mean force and compulsion. I will remember. Once I remind, then I will write it down. So what is that? Hakarah kirtitah suryeshtakarash chandra uchyate. Um, Perhaps jivatma paramatmano hatha yogo nigadhate. That is what is hatha yoga. And what we understand by the term hatha yoga? 13 postures, 14 postures, 25 postures, beginner's posture, advanced postures. No, that is not hatha yoga. Who explains this? Upanishads. Now come authorship of the most of the Upanishads are unknown and uncertain. They damn care whether they have explained these principles. Why? Why? They are explaining about not only their real nature, but also the real nature of everyone. They never wanted to be the best selling authors. I told you that every third day I get a request to link them to my LinkedIn profile, but they never forget to write that they are the best selling author of a particular book. How many people are best selling authors? Everyone. I respect them. That's not my cup of tea. I respect them. Thank you. I appreciate you that you are connected to me. So compare that with the reference that these great masters have never cared to write. But how do we know their authorship? The way they have explained, the way they have written in Sanskrit verses, and the time period. So sometimes you find only the name of a seeker in that. So by the name of the seeker, we can find out this master has written this. We just make an idea. Now see that you have never heard the name. Who is your teacher? My teacher is modern so and so. I'm not naming anyone. Make it. So you see that. Have you heard these names of the great masters? They were the authors of great Upanishads. Yajnavalka, Uddalaka, Aruni, Swatketu, huh? Shandilya, Atraye, Balaki, Peplada, Sanat Kumar. Brandy, don't think that they are all men. There are great women masters. Gargi, Maitreyi. Maitreyi and Gargi, they are the two great women masters. Never. These are the names of the men masters, and now Maitreyi and Gargi. These were the names. So it means I see maybe all of them are Maitreyi and Gargi. Then I'm seeing you now, all are women. So you all are Maitreyi and Gargi, the great masters. Upanishads. We are understanding in this the brief of these Upanishads. So now see that we have three portion of the three basic knowledge is hidden in these Upanishads. Or you can say three division, three classification of the knowledge. The first classification is known as Karma Kanda. Karma Kanda, it explains lot of mantras, how to use that mantra, how to practice that mantra. Huh? It is known as the practice and is known as Karma Kanda. But then by the Karma Kanda, you are not progressing. Then the master says, okay, Upasana. Let me write out Upasana Kanda, Upasana. Upasana means the sitting near sitting near the higher existence in the form of an image supported by the mantra. So you move to the upasana. And then the third knowledge is known as Gyan Kanda. Gyan Kanda, Kanda means the chapter, Jnana means the knowledge. The Upanishad explains all the three huh, types of it. For example, Om. On Thursdays, I think in one lesson it came out of my mind that there are three Om, the lower Om, the middle Om, and perhaps some of you were participants into that. The three Om representing. So you see that so that explanation is found in the Upanishads, and that gives you, oh my goodness, I could see Om is represented by the physical body, and then the Om is represented by the energy body. And that is when you understand that Om and then you chant Om, it transforms your mind. So that is also hidden in the Upanishads. Now, there are how many Upanishads are there? More than 365 Upanishads are there. More than 365 Upanishads. But in one of the Upanishad itself, it explains there are 108 Upanishads. So now see that these Upanishads belongs to four Veda books. And I have written in Rig Veda, the 10 Upanishads are there. In Samveda, 16 Upanishads. In Yajur Veda, you have 51 Upanishads. And in Atharvaveda, you have 18 Upanishads. So total becomes 108 Upanishads. Now see another classification. Another classification. Have you heard about Shiva? Shiva is the originator of yoga, along with the Krishna is also known as uh, the originator of yoga. Both are there. Now, the classification of Upanishads, there are 13 Upanishads where we understand what exactly is Shiva, who is Shiva, how the Shiva guides, what Shiva has guided. So, these Upanishads are 13 in number. And who is the wife of Shiva is the Shakti. So, there the Shakti is also the greatest women master. So, in 9 Upanishads, we learn how the Shakti teaches us what exactly is yoga, mantra, pranayama, etc. What we learn, just take an example, one example of this pranayama. Yes. So, what we learn from the Hatha Yoga, the pranayama, one is Nadi Shodhan, and then we have 8 pranayama. There are 9 pranayama, everyone knows. Very primary level, beginner's level, kindergarten. But we give that too much of importance. Then what happens? The knowledge is blocked. You do not understand the higher aspect. Now go to the Patanjali Yoga Sutra. He says there are only 4 types of pranayama. Now go little above. Now the knowledge aspect. So do you see the breath is going in and coming out all the time? Do you understand that? Do you believe it? Do you experience? Breath is life, life is breath. So what the master says, as you do nothing, just sit with eyes closed as the breath goes in, the world dissolves completely. And as the breath comes out, huh, the world appears. What the world appears when the breath goes in, you are beyond the world. That is the actual pranayama. Can you reach to that state? 24/7 we are breathing. Just see and think, just imagine. You are listening to me and the breath has just gone inside. What happens? The world outside dissolved. Means what? No suffering, no problem. The world appears. The problem I see in the world, not in me. I am free. That is one way to do the pranayama. So there are many ways. It is only the Upanishads that gives us the clarification, a logical explanation, a clarity of understanding that why the pranayama is given differently in Patanjali Yoga Sutra and why it is given differently in Hatha Yoga text. So Upanishads are the cream, the fundamentals of the knowledge. So going further, you have Lord Vishnu is known as reincarnation. So there are 14 Upanishads belonging to that, and there are another dualism philosophy. There are 14 Upanishads. You have Yoga Upanishads. They are 19 in numbers. The 19 Upanishads talks different forms, different schools of yoga. You want to renounce the world, want to become a monk? There are 16 Upanishads. You can become a monk while living in the world. Don't worry, Christina. You can continue to living in the world and still become a monk inside. So it explains you what exactly it means to be a monk. That we will also study in Gita. From today, Anashritaha, well, there's a beautiful verse. When I remember, I will repeat it. There are a lot of text. So the meaning is that if your mind is free from the desire for the fruits of an action every day, one, and you are performing all your actions free from the ego sense, you are a monk. You do not become a monk by wearing the orange colored cloth. Fortunately, I am wearing today. So you do not become a monk. So that understanding and the wisdom is given to us by the. Now there was a great master Shankara. Shankara was a great master. He lived only for 37 years old, and his contribution is immense. Why I'm saying his contribution is immense, my friends? You already know the history of India. We have a lot of invaders from Alexander the Great to the Muslim invaders. They had a total disrespect for this manuscript of the Vedas and the Upanishad. What we are learning today is only the 30% of the literature available to us. Others were burned down, destroyed. Only the 30% of the literature. Why I said so? The Shankara in the 7th century realized that importance, and he wrote 200 commentaries on different texts. So according to him, there are 10 principal Upanishads. Out of 108 or 365 Upanishads, these are the 10 very Upanishads. They gives you the ultimate knowledge. Because they give you the ultimate knowledge, it doesn't mean that I should start studying them. I have to have a strong foundation of the principles, isn't it? That is why we are going to study the topical text in the next lesson, so that we are clear. Then only we can understand this. So this is one thought that I had in my mind. Now, I think there is another part that I should cover. Yes, that is also very important. So say, for example, you want to understand. What you want to understand? You want to understand yoga. Where is yoga written? What texts you study? You study Hatha Yoga Pradipika, Gheranda Samhita, Patanjali Yoga Sutra. But there are the words that is used in these texts you cannot understand. So what should I do? There are 19 yoga Upanishads. You can copy and paste. There are 19 yoga Upanishads. It gives you all the knowledge, whether it is Kundalini. I teach Kundalini meditation from the Yoga Kundalyo Upanishad. You see that Yoga Kundalini Upanishad is there? That is the most authentic text. Why? I don't know Kundalini from Yogi Bhajan. I'm a poor guy, so it's better to teach from Yoga Kundalini Upanishad, the authentic text. There are other also reference. Yaval Darshan Upanishad also explains about Kundalini. And there is a Yog Shikha Upanishad. These three Upanishads explain in detail about Kundalini, about the chakras. You see that? Adhyatma Upanishad explains a lot of principles coming from Patanjali Yoga Sutra, indirectly refers these principles. So in our tradition of Eastern wisdom, it is not known as pleasurism. That is how we speak. Pleasurism or plagiarism. Whatever, you have understood. Plagiarism. Yeah. So they are not pleasurist. Even the originator of the Krishna in the book of the Gita, he borrowed lot of verses from the Upanishads. Why? They believe, they know that knowledge is a revealed knowledge. It is not the knowledge they created from their ego. Are you getting it? That is the beauty of the Eastern wisdom. That is why my master always used to stick to the teachings of these knowledge and the Eastern wisdom. You see, Asatu ma satgamaya, it comes from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, out of the 10 principal Upanishad. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Now see that I initially started giving this to a lot of people that first let us chant Asatu ma satgamaya. Asatu. Brandy, speak out. Ma satgamaya. So first we should understand the very pronunciation. Asatu ma satgamaya. Asatu ma satgamaya. Yes, Asatu, will you write what you are chanting? Yes. Asatu ma satgamaya. Can you say? Asatu ma satgamaya. Make your mind comfortable. Asatu ma satgamaya. Past is Asatu ma satgamaya. You see that in North India, we normally speak sad. And in South Indian Sanskrit, we say sat. It becomes t. So both are right. So that's a totally, going into the Sanskrit grammar. So I'm not talking of that. We will talk later. So now second line is tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. Can you see tamaso ma jyotirgamaya? Jyotirgamaya. And third line is Mrityorama. 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 Amritang. Amritang. Amritangamaya. So in South India we say Amritam, but in North India we say Amritang. I am North Indian. So Amritangamaya. So now see that uh, follow the same pattern of the practice, and you see. So close your eyes and see how it works. And if you do it every day, it brings the change in your mind in a week or from the very first day. So what we will do? First, we close our eyes because we have nothing to do with the body and the breath. The mind has to work on the mind. My master used to say, you chant the mantra loudly, and 1,000 times better you chant the mantra mentally. 1,000 times better you do it with a meaning. 1,000 times better you do it with the applied knowledge. And that is how I created these steps based on the teaching. So eyes are closed, body is comfortable. You are looking deep inside the heart, in the space. So we will chant Asatoma Satgamaya. Mentally, you are doing it. Asatoma Satgamaya. Asatoma Satgamaya. And now we will do it with the meaning, the simple meaning. Literal meaning is moving from, let us move from the false to the truth. Asatoma Satgamaya. As if you are inviting your honey whom you love most. That will make a difference. Otherwise, you are doing a dry knowledge. Asatoma Satgamaya. Asatoma Satgamaya. And now singing, listening, meaning, and the applied knowledge. What is applied knowledge? Simple applied knowledge. First understanding. What appears true is not true is known as false in Eastern wisdom. Okay, I have understood it is still a very dry knowledge. Now, how to apply that in life? Any form of anxiety, pain, suffering, duality, conflict in your life belongs to the falsehood because my essential nature is always full of peace, permanent happiness, love, and wisdom. That is what is known as the truth in yoga. That truth is known in yoga is known as existence. And where there is existence, there is consciousness and bliss. Can I chant and do the mantra mentally with that understanding? Asatuma Satgamaya. Asatuma Satgamaya. Asatuma Satgamaya. You will see change takes place instantly in the mind. I have added all four divisions of the Veda, the Samhita, the Brahman, the Aranyaka, and the Upanishad. So let us go to the second line of the mantra. Second line of the mantra is Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. So we are going to chant mentally or loudly in the beginning. This is a learning stage, it's okay. So singing and listening. So you are listening to what you are singing. Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. Now, meaning, singing, listening, and what is the meaning? Let us move from the darkness to the light. Simple literal meaning. Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. Darkness to the light. So now see, many people, I have came across many people, they say, until I see the light in meditation, then only I will find out that I have moved from the darkness to the light. But the meaning of the darkness is ignorance, suffering, and meaning of the light is wisdom, pure awareness. See that. See that. So what is the message here? The moment I'm in anxiety, duality, conflict, problem, suffering in the world, let me sit and move to the right knowledge. Let me awaken my mind and intellect to the right knowledge, to the right wisdom. Why? To get rid of the suffering. Any kind of suffering, yes. Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. No, when I am in stress and suffering, I should not put my hand on the forehead and start grieving. No, I have to contemplate. I have to move to the right knowledge. That is the message of the Upanishads. To be very precise, third line, singing and listening. Mrityorma amritangamaya. Mrityorma amritangamaya. Mrityorma amritangamaya. Mrityorma amritangamaya. Now, singing, listening, and meaning. The literal meaning, translated meaning is, let me move from the death to immortality. How can I move? That I will give you the understanding in the next phase. Singing, listening, and meaning. Go with that meaning. Mrityorma amritangamaya. Mrityorma amritangamaya. Mrityorma amritangamaya. Meaning is one meaning. Every line has almost, I would say, 15 and 20 meaning that I will cover in the lessons on Yoga Sutra and also on Gita at different times based on the verse that we are studying. But here, one meaning. What is that meaning? Freedom from the mind, not freedom for the mind. One meaning. When you seek freedom from the mind, you realize you are immortal. You realize your real self. When you seek freedom for the mind, there is not a place and a time and event and relationship when you do not suffer. That is the difference between this movement. Mrityorama amritangamaya. Mind says, no, I hate, I like, dislike. You are seeking a freedom for the mind. No, I love him, but he doesn't love me. I love her, but she doesn't love. Forget all that. This is what the mind is seeking from you. Let the mind. Mrityurma amritangamaya. Mrityurma amritangamaya. And now the last line that you already know. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. And bring your mind to the right hand, your mind to the left hand. Lift your both the palms, place it on your eyes, on your closed eyes. Open the eyes. Inside the palms, know your experience. Bring the hands down. Let us have few questions before we take a break for half an hour. Don't forget the story of the prince. A girl, 13-year-old princess, and 25-year-old bride looking for, no, bridegroom looking for the bride. That is what happens in our day-to-day life. No, you don't love me. That is why I'm suffering. I don't have money. Money will come. Keep your mind pure. It has to come. If you are creative, if you work with the focus, at least that much money will come, will take care of you. Not always running. I started laughing.
And I'm going to actually miss this the rest of the afternoon because I have to run to an appointment. So,
see,
uh,
you see that? So ask any if you have any question. So you see the beauty of this. So those people who cannot understand intellectually, asato ma satgamaya, those whose intellect is not evolved. Sometimes what happens, we understand. Yeah, we understand. Even when we understand, we don't practice. So what is the use of that understanding? You understand? No, you don't understand. I have heard from one Upanishad, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. It says that people, the problem is that we never hear, listen to this wisdom. And what is that wisdom? Peace and happiness are my essential nature. Period. Now start your journey of life from there. I'm in anxiety, but peace and happiness are my essential nature. Why I'm having an anxiety? Let me inquire. Let me find out the reason. Let me drop that reason which causing me the anxiety, because peace and happiness are already there within me. See, that is the essence of the teachings of the Upanishads. You see that? Then what will happen? Will you have a big face at any time in your life? Now you have started smiling. I see that. So, what it shows when you have a serious face, your mind with all the crazy stuff, with the past impression, reflects on your face. Yes. Do you see that? You don't notice. You don't notice, but people notice. How are you? I'm good. Oh, you are good. Yes, I could see your face. You are so good. You see that? Uh, You have seen a lot of people. And you have expressed in the same way, hundred of times. Okay. Do you have stress? Who doesn't have a stress? I become a philosopher. So it means what? I have to live in stress. That is why I'm claiming, who doesn't live in stress and suffering in this modern age during Corona? I cannot go outside. Oh, so happiness is outside. Do you see that? That is how we have to understand, apply this knowledge. Are you getting it? No, my mood is upset, but my real self is peace. Upset mood belongs to the mind, not to me. Mind, remain upset. I'm happy. Tell your mind. That is the message the Upanishad gives. Are you getting it, Brittany? Now, Brittany's kept her smile intact. I like. You try to do any damn thing until you go deeper and understand and apply this knowledge. What will happen after a few more minutes? Your mind again shows the same face. Will express, from nowhere. Why? That is the third mantra. Mrityurma mritangamaya. So I gave one meaning, freedom for the mind or freedom from the mind. So when you are seeking freedom for the mind is the master. Mind keeps that garbage inside. Oh, I have lot of problem, lot of things to do. Lot of people cheated me. What should I do? I'm seeking sympathy from others. Do you see that? And that garbage is already there in the mind. How that garbage will make you smile? And by this learning, you throw the garbage away. Let me restart, reset my life. That is the message of the Upanishads. So, in that respect, the Upanishads are not small text. We need to study. We need to study it again and again and again, contemplate and reflect it again and again. And we have to find out. Love you all three, yes. Oh, Lara is in a hurry. Thank you. So let us give a break. After half an hour, we will meet, and now then we will understand